Hello, hello. Hi, everyone. A quick introduction. I'm Brian, one of the co-founders of CKLAN. And yeah, I'll be talking about our protocol CKLAN. So just a little brief intro about myself. Well, this is the Evereye collection. If anyone is in the Starknet ecosystem, you probably know that this is one of the more promising NFT project that's coming on board. So I'm one of the supporters as well. Before starting CKLAN, I was in the TradFi field for. Be, okay. Before the TradFi field, sorry, before starting DeFi project, I was in the TradFi field for some time. I was previously in Bloomberg and then Standard Chartered doing investment banking and then PE before starting this company. So what I hope to bring into the DeFi world, it's basically my experience with some of the institution and also basic risk management principle of the DeFi lending protocol. So for CKLand, what we do is we have we have two product under one single roof. So we have basically on the right side we have this is called the ZK, just a CKLand. Previously we called it Artemis, and then we are basically kind of rebranding it right now. So it's permissionless DeFi lending, pretty much similar to Aave Compound, where we do over collateralized lending. It's permissionless, decentralized, and we use CKLand. We use the CK technology on Starknet to scale the transaction costs and also the speed of the lending experience. And on the right side, we have the CK Land Institutional. And CK Land Institutional is another institutional product where we combine the KYC and compliance requirement for institutions going into the pool. And basically, what we do is we target institutions for lending and borrowing. And that's similar to, for example, what we see in Aave Arc, what we see in Maple, TrueFi, etc. So the basic design is very simple. So and this is also a simplified diagram, anyways. So for the CKLand DeFi side, what we have is basically we have 5 different token pools right now. We have the 3 stable coins that we have, and also ETH and BTC on Starnet. We are looking to add one more in the coming months, and essentially what we do is we try to build the public DeFi piece, the lending piece on layer 2. And then we also want to build a private instance of Starknet, possibly on layer 3 or maybe another app chain application where this will be a KYC where all the users or institutions coming into the pool will have to go through a KYC process so that we don't get into issues of money laundering, CFT, and all these type of illicit funds transactions. And ultimately, why we want to build 2 products under the same roof, it's because we want to solve one equation, which is the capital efficiency of basically the whole DeFi system right now. Because what we see on the DeFi side is that right now the utilization for DeFi pool is actually very low. It's around I would say 25 to 30% on a good day. And what it means is that 70% of the capital is not used. And that is by design because when you have, for example, anything above 70, that's kind of where we sit for, let's say, our ultimate utilization. Because in a bad day where there would be a lot of people trying to withdraw funds, you would want to discourage people from borrowing from the pool, so you increase the interest rate to very, very high. So then you always have maybe around, let's say, 20 to 30% of reserve in the pool. So which is why this is kind of deterring people to borrow the actual capacity of the pool provide. But that is not efficient, and that is not efficient, and that is okay. I'll try to be loud. I'm sorry, guys. And then on the institutional side, what we want to do is basically we have seen that there are a lot of borrowing demands, and for lending side not so much. So there's a basic good combinations between the two sides where for DeFi side it's a good pool of lending capital, supply of capital, and for the institutional side it's a supply. They want the demand capital, and especially now that with the interest rate going to risk-free rate is 6%. So if you want to borrow, you're going at least low teens. So if you are able to borrow in DeFi, it actually makes sense for institutions coming in. So for our product, one side of it, for the DeFi side, we have actually launched in May this year. This is actually how the protocol looks like. And this is a screenshot taken, I would say, 4 or 5 days ago. And we have a TVL of roughly about 7 mil at the moment and borrowing about 2 mil. So you can see that there's still about 5 mil of capital unused and across different currency at the moment. And so far, we have been quite blessed that our contract, the CKLand market contract, it's one of the most active or most actively used contract on Starknet at the moment. We have an engagement of about 575 interactions, and I think over the board we have been around, I would say, the top 5 for the past 3 months. So looking at the looking at the DeFi side, the product design basically starts last year, and then in May we launched the mainnet alpha already. And what we are currently doing is we are reworking some of the re-auditing our code, basically because what we have previously was in Cairo 1, Cairo 0, and we have to re-audit it to Cairo 1. So for the past, I would say, 2-3 months, we have been working with Nethermind team on the re-auditing work, and we are ready to launch our mainnet version, I would say, towards the end of Q3, end of September time. And so that would be the mainnet with Cairo 0 1.0, and also TVL, and also the token campaigns. And where we're going with the institutional side is that this piece, this is where we're going. We want to still build out the CKLand institutional. And that one, the operational framework will get started, I would say, early Q1 next year. And we're going to start looking at 3 or 4 launch partners or service provider to basically provide liquidity for us, to become the lender or become the borrower. And the test set expected to be out around Q3 2024. And with further refinements, our mainnet is targeted to come out by end of next year. We feel that the institutional piece is definitely adding value to the whole DeFi ecosystem. The infrastructure is not exactly 100% complete at the moment, but we feel that in a year's time, there will be more clarity in terms of regulations, in terms of compliance, and also in terms of how RWA is being treated to help institutional borrowing. Crap. The formatting is all over the place at the moment, but we can still kind of guess it. So the TVL on Starknet right now, it's about 164. And for DeFi, it's around 36. Since I would say I have been on stage in Ho Chi Minh talking about the TVL or Starknet, and at the time it was around 60. And right now it's about 164, so about 3 times growth. But for DeFi, at the time it was 25. Now it's 36. So DeFi actually hasn't grown as quickly. And there are some reasons why DeFi is still being tapped at the current stage. Some of these are the top projects on DeFi at the moment. There are some AMMs and us lending protocol. I would say most of the construct of the DeFi protocol right now, it's still using DeFi 1.0. I think a lot of the protocol is still trying to experiment with Starknet, trying to get familiar with the code itself, and then to build on top and add features that would actually help us to break through. Some of the current hurdles we're experiencing is that scalability. I think that's true for every protocol building on Ethereum. And high gas fees, slow transaction costs, and slow transaction speeds, and especially for DeFi, for trading, that's a killer. UX UI, it's not straightforward to use, and there's also concerns over fund safety and fund control. Also, long-term sustainable liquidity, it's an issue. We see that there are a lot of incentive farmers and also mercenary capitals on Starknet at the moment, and these are not sustainable, and they would just basically rotate between different L2s to get airdrops or to get engagements. And lastly, it's not capital efficient. Even for us, I would say the DeFi protocol that we are building for CKLand, the utilization rate is about 30%. There must be a way we can improve that, and there are far more lenders and borrowers. So we are looking at some ways to actually help to improve that. So for the scalability issues, I think a lot of protocols are starting to look to layer 2 as a solutions. So the emergence of layer 2, for example, Starknet, it's one scaling solution that actually have helped improve the transaction speeds. Right now, you don't see it as very phenomenal at 6.8, but it's coming. There are some bumps and there are some bumps along the way in terms of achieving TPS for Starknet, but ultimately we see that the team is still delivering, and they have been rolling back and then trying to resolve some of the issues they have, especially compared to 2 weeks ago where they have an issue with the network speed. I think that was also a stress test that actually helped to make the network more robust down the road. Another thing is optimization in terms of transaction costs. Right now, I would say the transaction cost it's not high, for an average transaction is about 12 cents, but it can be definitely lower. And what we are foreseeing for Starknet to basically roll out, it's two things. One, it's volition, basically choosing between two data availability mode between rollups and Validium, and also by about, I would say, early part of that next year, where we have the EIP 4844 for Pro Dang sharding. That would actually work well with the L2, and that would essentially help to reduce the transaction cost by up to 90%. 90% meaning because the data cost for a transaction actually takes up about 90% of a transaction cost. That's why if you're able to reduce that amount, that should basically bring this 12 cents down to probably about 1 to 2 cents. And in terms of UX UI, there are a lot of different innovations being brought to the scene at the moment. So I would say being able to get users onto Starknet, it's definitely one. So we have seen that, for example, Bravos, they have been helping with getting mobile wallets. So there are hardware signers and there are multi-sigs coming out. And even, same thing for Origin as well. Origin is coming out with their web wallets and also multi-sig wallets. So these are all ways to bring on new users to make the experience more friendly. And not to mention these two wallets, I'm sure a lot of you might have already known that account abstraction is a big thing for these type of smart contract wallets. So what they are enabling the wallets to do is a programmability in terms of payment. And that's going to be a big thing that would actually help to onboard some of the user experience from a EOA wallet where you have a private key and you lost a private key, you lost your wallet. This would be a lot better in terms of the user experience and the safety of the funds. And lastly, for the UX UI, we actually have focused a lot on shipping out educational content. So we feel that you won't be able to get users on board unless they feel comfortable and they feel educated about using all the different protocol around the ecosystem. So we have done a lot of educational campaign around, for example, safety, around security, around how to know your transactions, and about how to use wallets. And we also have done meetups to basically cultivate a community for supporting different Starknet projects, and as well as basically around the ecosystem doing campaigns with, for example, Brick and Ducks Everywhere, so that people get used to using the wallet, get used to minting transactions, and being able to get familiarized with other protocol outside the DeFi ecosystem. So, and also in terms of UX UI experience, I think concern for security and fund security is one thing. So we have formed a number of partnerships, core partnerships for protocol safety. So we have done two rounds of audit, and they're with Netherminds and ABDK. And then for post-deployment security checks, we have Hibernative and chain analysis. Chain analysis is in progress, but Hibernative is helping us to monitor our market risk, and chain analysis is helping us to monitor our compliance rates, basically wallets that are tainted. Then we will be able to screen those wallets out. And for pricing oracles, we use Pragma, and we have a partnership with ongoing partnership with Chainlane, so then when they comes onto Starknet, we will also support that, and ultimately when they start with CCIP later on, we will also support their CCIP so that we can have the cross-chain experience, and also partnering with protocols like CK-Link, so then we have the cross-chain ability as well. So these will be the two last slides. So for basically improving the overall experience with the protocol, we want to focus on new features that add incremental values to simplify the user experience. So one is that is done already. We have launched our mobile version of the dApp, so then people can use the mobile wallets and the mobile dApp, so then you can borrow and lend on your mobile and at the fingertips. We are going to work on these three features. One is isolated markets, which is for short tail assets. We will be able to bring them on board and being able to contain a risk without having to contain the entire lending pool. Self-liquidating loan, basically what it means is, for example, when your wallets don't have enough liquidity in it, or you use all your wallets fundings to pledge it and for borrowing, so then you will be able to use your collateral to and also using multi-call and flash loans and using those C tokens and repay all your loans in one go. And the third one will be a loan swap. Pretty much what it means is you will be able to swap your loan position from, let's say I have a USDC loan, I will be able to swap it into an ETH loan. And why would you want to do it? It's because, let's say you don't want to repay the loan, but you want to take position on, let's say you think that ETH would go down, let's say in a week or 2 weeks, then you want to convert it, so then you repay it in a lower amount. And vice versa, if you have ETH loan, you can convert it to USDC loan if you thought that ETH is going to be increasing in a month's time. And in terms of capital efficiency, this is what we want to build for the next year. We want to build customizable pools for institutions to go in. And then we also want to look at an interest rate order book. So we actually increase the capital efficiency for interest rate curve, so that we don't have the two-slope curve anymore, so that we actually would be able to use the entire capital pool rather than, for example, 30% to 50% of the pool. And RWA-backed loan, this one we are looking at different partners to actually help with RWA, basically asset-backed tokens. And what we want to do is basically for unsecured loan or undersecured loan for institutions that actually hold, for example, tokenized treasury products or tokenized securities in the real world. They will be able to use that as part of their collateral while they still maintain ownership of their real world assets. They are able to use that as some form of security for your lending for your borrowing on chain. So this is actually giving more security for unsecured lending. And last piece would be the floating to fixed swaps. Because we are doing a lot of floating rate loans, it makes sense for us to actually create a fixed loan structure so that we can let people to decide whether they want to hedge it or whether they want to basically bet against the floating rate. For example, let's say we see some of the DAI lending going from 2% all the way to, let's say, 40% in the past week. So if they want to lock it into a 5% loan, there would be different takers and providers. And one may take the view that it's going to be staying at around 2% to 5%. The other, it's going to have the view that it's going to be above 5%. So ultimately, you would have two sides providing the fixed rate and the floating rate, and that would create a credit derivative market that we can bolt onto the lending protocol. And that's basically what I want to talk about for this session. And thank you everyone for your attention. If you want to have a look at the protocol, you can go to our link and then launch the protocol, or just go app.zkland. You can find a lot of information on our Twitter, Discord. They're all on our websites anyways. So if you have any questions, I'm here. I'll be around. And I won't take up any more of your time. And then I think the next speaker is going to be Lee Run from Starkware. So I think he will be sharing a lot more insights on some of the inner updates of Starknet development. So I'm actually quite keen to listen to that as well. So thank you very much, and hope you all have a great evening.